where the sub-divisional officer in question here, Anjana Krishna, you see her on your screen over there, she had gone to take action against reports that she had received of illegal soil mining. It's called Murum there locally. But while she was there on the ground, she's handed over a phone. The voice on the phone says that he's the deputy CM and saying that please do not take all action. Please was actually not the word he used at all. He asked her to stop any action. Also adding, aapko daring bahut ho gaya hai. What exactly happened there? What has been the fallout of this story? What happened to this officer? And importantly, what is the soil mining going on in this area? All about that. But first up, let's listen in to that entire conversation that happened between the deputy CM and the IPS officer.
आपको आदेश देता हूँ कि वो रुकवाओ और आप जाओ और तहसीलदार को बताओ कि अजित पवार जी का फोन आया था। डिप्टी चीफ मिनिस्टर ने मुझे कहा ये सब रुकवाने के लिए, क्योंकि अभी मुंबई में
सर वो मुझे आप एक काम कीजिए, आप मुझे मेरे फोन में मतलब डायरेक्ट कॉल कीजिए ना।
एक मिनट, मैं तेरे ऊपर एक्शन लूंगा। अभी मैं खुद आपके साथ बोल रहा हूँ कि आप मुझे डायरेक्ट कॉल बता दिए।
सर मुझे कैसे पता है आप सर समझ रही है। ठीक है सर,
मेरा चेहरा तो आपको समझ में आएगा ना।
ठीक है सर।
इतना आपको डेयरिंग हुआ है क्या?
सर मेरे तो कार्रवाई जो किया है मुझे कैसे पता है सर?
मैडम को कौन है?
सर मुझे पता नहीं है ना सर, मैं सिर्फ यही बोल रही हूँ।
मैं डिप्टी चीफ मिनिस्टर
सर समझ रही है वो आप बोल रही है।
That pretty much lays it out, right? She's saying, the deputy CM saying, मैं आपके against action लूँगा, आप मुझे क्यों बोल रही हैं कि आपको क्या समझ में नहीं आ रहा है मेरी आवाज़? And then she goes on to say, she gives a number actually, that's the bit that we've clipped out in this entire footage that she saw. She gives him the number to say, how do I know that this is the deputy chief minister? It's really hysterical what has happened over there. But first up, just moments ago, we've got a clarification that has been issued from the deputy chief minister, Ajit Pawar. Is it an apology? Is it not? Let's take a look. He's gone ahead to say that there was no intent to interfere with the law enforcement. Is it really? The words that have caught him on camera actually say otherwise. He also goes on to say wanted to keep the situation from escalating, okay, by taking action against the IPS officer. What else has he said? He said have the highest respect for police force, okay, but then you were saying daring. Then he goes on to say women officers serve with courage and distinction, right? But she seemed to be crumbling under pressure over there, frankly. Also goes on to say, I value the rule of law above all. Rule of law or rule of power, we ask. Also goes on to say, illegal activities must be dealt with strictly. But he was doing the absolute reverse over there. Then went on to say, I stand for transparent governance. Very transparent, at least this video has been. All right, let's decode this and get to the root of the matter here. My colleague Rebuke Bhalsekar is with us now. He joins us from Mumbai. Rebuke, before I go into understanding any of this, what is this issue of soil mining in the area? Can we focus on that first? That seems to have not been discussed anywhere. It's become about this Neta sort of scolding a Babu, which is, frankly, if you ask me, an everyday affair. We shouldn't sort of fool ourselves into believing that this doesn't happen on an everyday basis in India. So let's keep that aside for a moment. Tell us a little bit about what this mining issue is.
Absolutely. So the whole episode traces back to 3 days back in a village called Kurud, which comes in Solapur district, and what has been claimed by the government officials and also spokesperson and leaders of NCP Ajit Pawar faction is that some milk producers and farmers who are trying to carve out way for them by excavating some soil which is nearby, and they had got an official order. The Tehsildar, the local level officer of Kurud village, had got an official order of excavating that soil. But despite that, when the complaints were raised that the amount of soil which is being excavated is in more amount than it is permitted. So at this point, the friction comes in, and the Tehsildar comes to the spot. He, ask all the villagers or the party who is involved in this whole incident, and then there is an altercation between them. The Tahsil officers call extra police force, and this is the scene where woman IPS officer Krishna comes in the picture, and when she enters this scene, there are again altercations between the villagers, which are again reportedly are from Ajit Pawar NCP faction, and they directly call Deputy CM Ajit Pawar. They narrate him the whole issue and how the police force and the local administration is interfering with their work, which is going to pave some way for their work. And
but Ritvik, if you look at that video,
if
you look at the video very carefully, what's very clear is the fact that she was ready to listen. This IPS officer was ready to listen if it was the voice of Ajit Pawar indeed. She goes on to say it against her, how do I know ye aapki awaaz hai? Then he asks her for a number. Then he says, okay, I will do a video call. Then you can see my face and then be rest assured that it is me. So please do as I say, otherwise I will take action against you. So in this case, both the parties have compromised really. Ajit Pawar clearly abusing his position and the IPS officer giving in.
Absolutely, and this is what the opposition is claiming, you know, and there are attacks, counter attacks from both the sides. What is being told is that when Ajit Pawar took a call from one of the party worker, the so-called villager, and when he listened to the whole episode of what is happening, he tried and which is clearly evident that the officer is being intimidated. She's been halted from performing her duty for what she is there. And when she confronted Ajit Pawar, citing that this might be someone else who might imitate him, or you know, nowadays with the use of AI, anyone can call and get the things done. So she had her doubts and she confronted it, and this is when the ego of Deputy CM got hurt, and then he started pressurizing her, as we could witness. And now that the party has officially accepted the fact that yes, it was Ajit Pawar himself talking on the phone, but they are also trying to cover up the whole issue and defend him by saying that that's his nature for last 30-40 years. We've been watching him, the way he talks, he's being very straightforward, and this is being misconstrued, this is being misunderstood, and definitely everyone in his party is standing strongly behind him.
That's his nature. That's the defense that they're saying, really. Okay, but Ritik, let's quickly give an update. What's the status on the IPS officer now? Has she been transferred? She's still there? What's the story?
No, absolutely not. There's no official word from the IPS officer as of now, nor any official statement from Home Minister and Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis. But yes, what is being told is that an MLC, again from NCP Ajit Pawar faction, Amol Mitkari, has now shot a letter to the Secretary of UPSC, claiming that there is a need to investigate the documents of educational and the caste certificates which are being submitted by the current officer, and he wants to validate them. He is raising doubts about its validity, and this is how they're trying to corner. This is not the first incident in Maharashtra which has happened. There have been such confrontations between ministers and bureaucracy, but it is shocking when someone of the stature of a deputy CM and a very senior leader, a senior political figure, Ajit Pawar, intimidates an officer.
Is it shockingly, Ritvik?
MLAs
come on, it's not just Maharashtra, it's all over the country. We should not stay in denial that in our country, politicians do not use their clout, do not use their positions of power and call people and get things done. Like, come on, this is an unfortunate incident for Mr. Pawar. Why? Because all of this got caught on camera. That's the only bit surprising in all of this. Let's not pretend that things like these do not happen. It is Appalling nonetheless. But please, requesting Ritik to keep an eye on what happens with that IPS officer as well. What you can see very clearly in the video is that she was ready to listen to him, only she wanted to do her checks clearly and check if it was indeed Ajit Pawar. It's the politics of the absurd, if one can really call it that, unfolding in Maharashtra. All right, let's move on to the other big focus we have here on 5 Live. Now, the next set of pictures that we will float on your screen are about leaders who have shaken hands, signed pacts, threatened wars. But what happens when the world's most powerful men, Putin, Xi, Kim, drop geopolitics and start whispering about living forever? This wasn't AI or science fiction. This was a real conversation caught on a hot mic between 2 nuclear-armed leaders. Not about peace, not about power, but about defying death, living forever. It was strangely intimate, and now some conspiracy theories saying that perhaps not unplanned either. Here's a glimpse into the minds of men who already control everything except time. Let's decode what they said and what it reveals about this global race to outsmart aging itself. Outsmart and always stay in power. This is now the race to defy age. When Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un gathered in Beijing, the world expected serious talks about war, alliances, trade and peace. But what no one expected was a hot mic moment that revealed something far stranger. A conversation not about strategy, but about conquering age. As the leaders walked towards the Victory Day parades reviewing the stands, a live mic picked up a candid exchange between President Xi and President Putin. Not about Ukraine, not about NATO, but about living longer. Xi was overheard saying, "In the past, people rarely lived beyond 70, but today, 70 is like being a child." Putin then replied, saying, "With biotechnology, organs can now be transplanted again and again. People can live longer, maybe even achieve immortality." Xi then added, "Some say people might live up to 150 years in this century." Kim Jong-un, just 41, didn't say much, but he was listening. Now, this wasn't just some idle chatter between aging leaders. It's part of a much bigger story, a real globe race to slow, stop, and even reverse aging. From gene therapy to cellular reprogramming, from anti-aging drugs to lab-grown organs, science is rapidly closing in on the mechanics of aging, and the idea of living to 120 or even 150 is no longer science fiction. And if you're wondering who's taking this most seriously, meet Brian Johnson. The American tech millionaire is spending over $2 million a year on a project he calls Blueprint, a full-body anti-aging protocol with the hashtag Don't Die. He claims he has reversed his biological age by over 5 years, according to some of the tests, by again using gene therapy, plasma exchange, dozens of pills a day, and tracking everything from his sleep to the elasticity of his veins. He claims his organs now function like those of his 18-year-old son. Other billionaires, Jeff Bezos, Peter Thiel, Google's Calico, are backing longevity startups aiming to delay death and hack the human lifespan. Now, there is a conspiracy theory doing the rounds that this hot mic moment wasn't an accident at all, but a deliberate leak by Putin himself. Why? Because speculation about his health has been growing. Multiple public appearances have captured unexplained tremors in his hand, fueling rumors that he may be battling a hidden ailment. But regardless of that, When Xi and Putin talk about living longer, it's not just philosophy, it is science. And for leaders who control nations, it's not just about staying in power, it's about staying, period. Because in a world where technology can slow aging, the most powerful may no longer worry about legacy. They may be preparing to outlive it. So here's the question. Is immortality humanity's next breakthrough or the ultimate illusion of control? Tell us what you think about it. Would you want to live forever? Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor, India Today. I'm not sure if I want to live forever. I don't know about you, but clearly those in power want to stay in power forever. And they are showing no signs of aging. So, is that the next breakthrough now? Let's open it up to our guests now. Joining us is Kumar Bagdodia. He is the neuroscientist, founder of Hale Healthy Aging and Longevity Enhancement. Also with us is Max Kushner. He's the co-founder and chief scientist officer at Sova Health, India's first full-stack gut health platform. Hello, gentlemen, to both of you. Let me go to Kumar first. Kumar, you do stuff like that for people. You do analysis, you understand from their brain, from their other body markers to say how long they will live, what are the ways in which you can make them live longer. So this is not science fiction, right? I just want to get your first comment here. When the most powerful leaders are saying, well, 70 is just a baby, you're going to live till 150. This is actually true. They just might.
Of course. First of all, Sonal, thank you for having me on the show. I wouldn't go so far about talking about immortality, but definitely extending your lifespan and health span along with it is a reality now. I think, in the last few years, we've given too much credence to this word longevity. And, incidents like what you are showing right now with these three very powerful and aging world leaders brings to, to the
not
fore this
aging world
concept of living
leaders.
long.
They are showing no signs.
But look at it this way. When the first pacemaker was installed in somebody's heart, that was in the 1950s. That was, in my view, a longevity moment, way ahead of what we are talking about right now, where you were allowing a foreign mechanical object in your heart to ensure that you lived longer. So now, 60, 65 years later, if you're talking about artificial organs, synthetic blood, and several other path-breaking technologies to, again, give another maybe 50, 60, 70 years, I'm not surprised.
Not surprised. So you're saying it's pretty doable. Let me bring in somebody who doesn't think it's very doable. Max, you are not very convinced on all this tech and science that is really going and doing the rounds. There are, of course, ethical questions. We'll park that for later. I don't want to get into that just yet. I want to talk about pure science and say, is this possible in today's day and age? We have a couple of techniques available, right? And I'll request the producers to sort of pop those graphics up on the screen as well. There's something called organ transplantation and regeneration. There is now cellular reprogramming that's available. There are anti-aging drugs. There are gene therapy, CRISPR as it's been called, in very advanced stages as well. With so much of research and resources across the globe going into longevity, why are you not convinced that this could just be a reality?
Hey, Sonal, thank you for having me, first of all. Very happy to be here today. Second to say is, first of all, I'm very optimistic about us actually solving death as a problem. I think that the consensus in the scientific community today becomes to be that aging is a disease. And once you understand the mechanisms of this disease, then potentially you can solve it, just like any other disease.
Hold on, Max. You said aging is a disease?
I thought
aging is the most natural thing that humans go through.
But if you think of it, nobody dies from aging, right? People die from heart attacks or from cancer or from diabetes, but they never die from old age, right? Something in the body breaks eventually. And this is why aging is becoming a paradigm. So, and I think that we are developing this amazing ability to think systemically. Instead of focusing on any single organ in the body or any single system, we are able to start answering very complicated questions with complicated but right answers, right? So technology like genomic sequencing, microbiome science, metabolomics, right? The science of every metabolite in the body. And there's more of those coming in. Once those are integrated together into a singular system, then we can definitely start seeing, and we're already seeing, some of the benefits of that approach, because complicated questions require complicated answers. Where I'm a bit more pessimistic about specific technologies solving these problems, right? Because well, we still can't transplant a brain, right? So what happens then? Will you actually become immortal? So I think that is going to be a very interesting 10, 20, 25 years where we would definitely see massive increases in health span. Because some of the problems that plague our society, like metabolic diseases, for example, will be solved permanently. We'll have cure for diabetes, for example. But I think that to achieve immortality, it's probably possible, but it will happen at a later stage.
All right then. So fair to say, so is it fair to say, Kumar, and come in here, that if GLP-1 drugs is the biggest story, perhaps the biggest medical revolution of our times, the next big GLP moment would be in longevity. So I'm trying to understand from you, which is going to be that science that takes us into that living till 120, 150 conversation, amongst all the 5 that I've mentioned and are popping on the screen as well?
I would place my bet on one of the 5 which you've got on your screen, which is AI and CRISPR. Really helping with gene editing. That would be one of my top picks. And the second one, which is not on your screen, is we're already seeing huge strides being made in artificial hearts, artificial kidneys, artificial lungs, and believe it or not, synthetic blood. Now, when you have these 3, the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, and your blood being sorted on demand at scale, what does that mean for some of the top killers today? What does it mean for diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer? Phenomenal, any cardiovascular disease. So at one shot, just with these 3 or 4 technologies and with CRISPR, gene editing, and AI playing a massive role in developing new drugs, new molecule, which can be customized to people and available to just about anyone, of course, over a period of time. I think these things will come together for a very, very powerful and potent combination.
But not available to everyone, right, Kumar? This is going to be available to the most powerful and perhaps the most connected, perhaps the ones with the maximum bank balance. This is not a tech that will be available for all.
Well, initially that might be the case. But as with most technologies, once you reach an inflection point in terms of scale and costs, I think they will find more widespread adoption. I also want to say something, Sonal. I believe we are living in a golden era when it comes to longevity, and here's why. On one hand, we've got this amazing future which is being dictated by technology. And on the other hand, we still live in a present where we have access to ancient wisdom with therapies determined by Ayurveda, natural healing. And I think when both of those two come together, you've got a very, very powerful combination.
That I agree. We need a wholesome knowledge to actually come into play. But Max, some of the viewers watching this right now must be wondering, what is this CRISPR? What are these gene therapies that these guys and these science nerds are really talking about? Could you decode it in simple language, which you do so well, about what does this mean? What are these therapies really doing? This entire science of anti-aging, what is it based on? Is it sort of making changes to my current DNA? Or is it ensuring that new stuff is injected in my body? What is this exactly?
Sure. So it's actually quite simple. Every living organism has DNA as the molecule that confers the information for how to build that organism, right? So, for example, some of the things, some of the genes that we have, they've been conserved for millions and millions of years. One example is that a human being and a banana, they share 50% of their DNA, right? So if we compare the DNA sequence of myself, for example, and a banana, half of it will actually exactly match. Now,
Fascinating. Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And DNA has only 4 letters, A, T, C, and G, and no spaces, no punctuation marks, just the sequence that confers all of this information, how to build a max or a sonal or a banana, right? And recently, in the last, let's say, 50 years, we've developed the ability to be able to read DNA, to take a DNA molecule and basically understand what is the order of the bases, this A, T, C, and G bases in that specific molecule. And in the last 10 or 12 years, we've actually gained the ability to do this at a massive scale.
This is the reason why, by the way, all the DNA found or any chair that the leaders touched or any cup that they took a sip in or even their poops are now being wrapped up and being taken away. This is why the world leaders don't want to leave behind any biometric, because that's like intelligence gold.
Absolutely. So the moment we know the sequence, we can actually infer some of the traits that the sequence will cause to. Everybody heard about mutations, right? So mutations, they can cause cancer, certain diseases. So if we can detect those mutations early, this is called the genetic testing. This is something that we already apply today, and we can come to the person and say, hey, you know, you're about to get this or that disease, be aware. Now, with CRISPR technology, we, if you think of it like a Word document, right? Now we can only read, but we can also write DNA. So we have copy-paste abilities, we have cut abilities, we have editing abilities. Right now we can start editing this text. And that becomes very powerful because now we also have technologies to deliver this new DNA throughout the body in a relatively safe ways. So now we can start correcting these mutations. And there's been, over the last 5 or 6 years, there have been kids with some congenital conditions that were incurable before that got completely cured because of this technology. We're now using it to reprogram immune cells to attack cancer cells. It's called CAR T cell technology. It's already being employed. It's potentially a cure for many types of cancer, and so on and so forth. So we can basically start even making whole organisms that are completely synthetic, right? We can just write the DNA and make a synthetic bacteria. This was done a few years back in the US. So very, very exciting times ahead.
But tell me this, Max and Kumar, if you can add on to that as well. Is there a single human being currently on the planet who has used this? Or are we still talking about all these tests and this being a reality perhaps in the future and being tested only on animals so far?
Well, there are instances of very specific CRISPR and gene editing protocols being used for individuals with extremely rare genetic disorders. And those are few and far between. And yes, it is still out of reach of the average individual, not just because in terms of cost, but also the risk. So unless somebody's got a very highlighted risk factor, which poses a life threat, people are also averse to going for such procedures. But certainly I find in the last, I would say 12 to 18 months, that AI is actually helping this process become faster. So there are instances already, and especially with the younger children, where they are being given some of these, gene editing programs just to help safeguard them from a really life-threatening or a debilitating disease.
Max?
Yeah, so I think that Kumar nailed the nail on the head, basically, because there are some safety concerns in systemic delivery of these molecules, but with tissues like blood or immune cells, for example, these technologies are already FDA approved and used in tens of thousands of patients with cancer. CAR T cell is, I think, the most advanced example, where scientists would actually take immune cells from the patient and engineer them to attack the cancer of this patient
Yes, it
specifically.
actually happened in
And then
India
they
as
would
well.
introduce them back.
Yes.
Yeah, CAR T cells
Very
are definitely
successfully done, and by Indian doctors. They saved the life
Yes.
of a 9-year-old girl whose cancer had come back for the 3rd time, and they managed to cure her. And so that's been marvelous, really. So gene therapy has clearly worked. But in cancer cases, we are looking at gene therapy to actually reverse age. So let's now turn to the issues here, the very ethical questions. Everybody's already talking about how now you can customize, or what is the word there? Boutique your child. You can now pick what color of eyes you want, what kind of nose, what kind of features, in fact, not just physical features, brain development also, what will be the triggers or not. All of this is being discussed. Again, I want a quick fact check over here from Kumar. How far is it from actually happening, or is this still sort of limited to the labs so far?
Yeah, I have yet to see a successful case where all of this has been done. Some of these are certainly at advanced stages in different forms in various labs, not for a single individual as a whole where everything is sort of pre-programmed or let's say bioprogrammed. I don't think that's happening. But what is a real possibility, and I think very soon, in a matter of few years, you will have, is implantable devices in your brain. We already know of some very successful startups globally. Imagine the kind of abilities those give you in terms of cognitive abilities, consciousness, your ability to retain information, compute, your emotions, all of that. And I think that is going to be way more powerful, not just for disease reversal, but also for anybody wanting to live really long. The real bottleneck is not going to be your heart or your skin or your muscle. The real bottleneck is going to be your brain, your consciousness, your ability to be salient. At the
Can
age
I
of
just bring a
125.
balancing point of view here? While any scientist or anybody who understands this field very well, like Max and Kumar clearly do, when you talk to them, they'll say, oh, this is a marvelous innovation, look at the potential that it will bring, etc. The viewer right now is wondering, that's all that is left. There was one supercomputer that I had, which was my brain, and now that's also outsourced to a machine. So clearly there are those who are going to call it doomsday. Max, what's your opinion on this one?
From my experience, very limited experience in the field of ethics, I would say that the technology, whenever a new technology that's genuinely life-changing comes, it's only a question of when and how is it going to be used, but not a question of will it, right? So flying, I think, is the most common example, right? When we had the first airplanes, people said, oh, people are not meant to fly. We have birds for that, right? And look at us now. So will it be used for good or for evil? Probably for both.
Probably for both. So Kumar, what's your take here? How far should this go? This is the same debate as AI. How far should we go on to empower? I mean, I'm looking at it because, come to think of it, we still don't have so much of research when it comes to pregnancy in women. We still don't have so much of research when it comes to basic cough and cold on what these medicines are really doing to us. Isn't that, we still have such limited information when it comes to so many kinds of cancers that are really out there, right? So what are we spending our time, money and energy in living longer or really solving it for the masses? Like, this is such an elitist view at the end of the day, meant for clearly the leaders on our screens because they really care about it. But the countries they run, the people that they take care of, they don't care about how long they live. They want good quality of life today.
I think that's a very valid question, Sonal, and let me answer it from two perspectives. One, the need for self-preservation is innate to the human brain. Since time immemorial, that's what's driven all kinds of progress, the need to live longer. So, whether it's vaccines, whether it's the pacemaker, whether it's medicines of any kind, we want to live longer. We want to have higher life expectancy. I agree with your question that yes, perhaps there is maybe a little bit of undue attention
Yes.
being given to longevity as as a science, if you can call it, to say how can some of the top people in the world live longer. But I would say it's just a matter of time where a lot of those sciences, perhaps currently being driven by the rich and the powerful, will ultimately find their way trickle down to the to the masses as well. So unless you have some Phillips, maybe driven by power, maybe driven by ego, maybe driven by a desire to be immortal or play God, whatever it is, ultimately that research dollars are being found in those labs and they will make their way. So I
Right.
wouldn't really paint it with that paintbrush to say
Yeah.
that, it is really just an ego trip. So I don't understand the quest for immortality.
Yeah.
I think that is not just medical science. One needs to delve into quantum
You need
physics
to
and,
be
the quantum
you need
realm
to
as
be the
well.
leader of some of the most powerful nations in the world to understand the rationale about it, perhaps, or be like back in the day. But talking about back in the day, Max, I don't know how familiar you are with the Indian context, but say, for example, my great-grandmom lived till about 108 very easily. There was a generation before, 2 generations before me perhaps, where the average age used to be that. Something happened in the middle. So a lot of people sort of watching this today would say, why not just go back to the basics, have a clean life? And that's what's really required. Not so much of time, money, and effort going into getting prebiotics, doing, pumping your cells with all kinds of therapies, just so that you can go on to have a longer life, younger life.
I think that's a great question. I actually know quite a lot about the Indian context. I've been here for the last 8 years, helping people, live healthier and longer, dealing with metabolic diseases and gut health issues, which is probably two most common ailments in India. Right, India is known to be the diabetes queen of the world, but actually conditions like IPS and IBD are almost 3 times as large in India as diabetes is, right? So most of
Yep.
us have some gut problems.
Yep.
And I think that the lifestyle that we're having today, living in a city, dealing with the air quality, dealing with the food quality, dealing with our own personal aspirations, where health is maybe top 3, but work is more important, right? And then we wake up in our 40s or 50s with several chronic conditions, saying, "Oh, what happened?"
Huh.
So yes, it's a matter of choices, and if we live naturally somewhere and we eat perfectly every day, then probably we will live longer. But once we're honest with ourselves, we want to maintain a certain lifestyle that we already have. Most people are content living the way they are.
Yep.
And this is why it's really important to identify the gaps, especially in our nutrition early, and then plug those gaps either with food
Absolutely.
or with supplements, right? So that our body, and I think this is in relation to what Kumar said earlier. He said, "Oh, we're gonna live longer because we're gonna have heart replacements or limb replacements or blood replacements." So and that resonates with me. But I'm saying, why get to that? Why not prevent it from the first place? Why not have a machine at home that will tell us, "Look,
That's a
today you need
great
this or that"?
thought. That's a great thought to wrap this conversation on. That why not? Why not clean it at the source? Why not clean it at the beginning? The question is how. What can I trust the vegetables that come to my house? Can I trust the air? Clearly can't. I can't stay in a bubble. I can't be like Brian Johnson and leave India or carry our air purifier with me
Yes.
everywhere. I can't trust the water. So there is really, and that's perhaps a story that we should pursue and do it in another episode. But for now, gentlemen, thank you both on this very, very fascinating chat. Kumar and Max both, thank you so much for joining us here on 5 Live.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right then, moving on. The poor man's cigarette, bidi, has suddenly taken centre stage. A recent GST cut by the BJP-led central government, reducing tax on bidis from 28% to 18%, has triggered sharp reactions from the opposition and has even stirred a controversy over a B for bidi, B for Bihar jibe by the Congress party. But beyond the headlines lies a deeper debate about health, taxation and political influence. Who really benefits from this bidi break? Sneha decodes.
The humble tendu leaf rolled into a poor man's cigarette. The bidi has found itself in the middle of a political firestorm. The BJP-led central government slashed the GST rate on bidis from 28% to 18%, triggering a war between the opposition Congress and the BJP. Kerala Congress B for bidi, B for Bihar comment has triggered a huge fight.
कांग्रेस के देश भर के नेता और आरजेडी के बिहार के सभी नेता को बिहारियों के अपमान में मज़ा आता है और ये लोग बिहारी को और बिहारी गौरव को अपमानित करने में ये लोग गर्व महसूस करता है।
क्या राहुल गांधी को तेज यादव को इस पर बोलना चाहिए, सफाई देना चाहिए?
वो लोग क्या बोलेंगे, वही लोग तो बुलवा रहे हैं।
What stands out is that cigarettes and chewing tobacco are facing an increased GST of 40%, while the bidi industry gets its easy at 18%, which is a 10% slash. From simply a sin-good point of view and from a health point of view, the bidi industry seem to be at a big advantage here. At least the political barons who head it do. Across the political spectrum, bidi manufacturers have found a place in legislative halls where they influence tobacco policies to favor their businesses. So what are the loopholes here? In spite of accounting for nearly 72 million consumers and employing around 4.9 million workers, bidi industry, unlike cigarettes, slips through a lax tax net. Unlike cigarettes, which are subject to high taxes, bidis benefit from tax exemptions for small-scale producers, as bidis have long been classified into the cottage industry category. It is a loophole undoubtedly that is widely exploited, while cigarette packaging, remember, is required to feature gory graphic health warnings covering 85% of the surface area of the packets. Bidi industry gets away. They're sold in plain nondescript packaging with minimal warnings. Arguments that they are not as hazardous as cigarettes are deeply, deeply flawed. A bidi delivers higher levels of nicotine, tar and also carbon monoxide per puff compared to cigarettes, primarily because smokers inhale deeper to compensate for the lack of filters here. Research on the British Medical Journal has pointed towards a direction showing that bidi smoking significantly increases the risk of lung cancer, also tuberculosis and chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, COPD. Studies published in the British Medical Journal also say the same, linking bidi smoking to increased cases of miscarriages, stillbirths, low birth weights, among a dozen of other problems. Pregnant women exposed to second-hand smoke are also dealing with these issues, but bidi industry and bidis continue to be treated with kid gloves, as we've seen. In New Delhi, Sneha Mordani for India Today Television.
All smoke, all tobacco is quite terrible for us, and I think the government needs to wake up to that as well. But talking about what we do need to adapt, clearly not the tobacco, but maybe a game of pickleball. Pickleball is gaining momentum in India, so much so that the nation is sending its first ever national team to the World Pickleball Cup. Yes, it exists. And can you imagine, touted as being less intimidating alternatives to tennis, pickleball is capturing imagination of affluent celebs across the globe. It is becoming India's new favorite pastime and is striking a unique balance between fitness, fun, and also social status. Many are saying it's golf which takes less time. So is pickleball just a trend or is it here to stay? Take a look at this report.
Yes, it's official. India is sending the first ever national team to the Pickleball World Cup. While pickleball was being touted as an emerging sport for the last couple of years, it seems that the less intimidating and bougie tennis has finally arrived on the scene, and it's here to stay. Well, one sport has done to India what skiing is to the West, blending wellness, social engagement and quiet luxury. We decode the pickleball craze and make it easier for you to decide if it is your calling. We've got the MD of Spotify India, Ajit Pawar, with us. Ajit, how did you start your pickleball journey?
I discovered this by chance in Vasantya Club. They opened the first court 3 years back. And I said, this is a good one because I used to play squash and tennis before. And those games were getting a little tough for me on my knees. So I said, let's try this game. And I think I just fell in love with it.
And what do you think the difference is between pickleball versus paddle and tennis?
So tennis is more technical and, like you have to play on a much larger court, and technique is very, very critical.
What do you say for those people who say pickleball is for those who are too unathletic for tennis and too poor for golf?
So let me tell you, I played tennis all my life. It was very tough on the body. But the beauty about pickleball is that you can learn it in day one if you played any racket sport. Be it table tennis, be it squash, anything. So I love it. This is great and the camaraderie is fantastic.
As it turns out, the question is to pickle or not to pickle. Have you joined the bandwagon yet or intend to? With Shreya Srivastav and video journalist Pawan Kumar, Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, but I've always wondered why it's called pickleball, but that's a story for another day. For now, let's leave you with these lovely visuals that have come in. India is celebrating Onam, which is a colourful celebration that commemorates the return of the mythical king Mahabali. Now, Onam is a 10-day harvest festival celebrated in Kerala, in India, marking the monsoon end. The festivities began on August 26th and will culminate today, which is also known as the Thiruvonam Day. We leave you with these visuals of the vibrant celebration filled with joy, capturing the rich heritage and the essence of Kerala. Thank you so much and happy Onam.
Celebrating its biggest annual festival, the Harvest Festival of Onam today. The celebrations began officially on September 3rd with Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan inaugurating the celebrations. The celebrations that was called off last year due to the Wayanad landslide is back in its full glory this time. Cultural programs across multiple venues have been organized by the tourism department for 6 days to celebrate the festival in Thiruvananthapuram. The capital city is lit up in all its essence. The 10-day festival celebrates the homecoming of the Malayalam land's beloved King Mahabali to remember the good governance under his rule. The people get ready to welcome the king with flowers, Thiruvatira, and most importantly, the delicacy Sadhya. Onam has many traditions attached to it, and it's the campuses in the state that now upholds and celebrates Onam the most. Students were seen celebrating the Harvest Festival with their friends and teachers on the campuses with Onam games, carpet competitions. The highlight, however, was the tug of war. Girls and boys were seen in traditional outfits making reels as it's the new generation Onam. They moved to the trending Onam songs released this year.
What is the most exciting thing about Onam?
The games, the sadhya, and everything like that swing and all. It's all exciting. Everything about Onam is exciting.
Every year we celebrate with a family, but it's little bit different when we celebrate it with friends.
I saw you guys making reels and everything. So now Onam is also about making dance reels and all that, right?
Yes, of course.
For Keralites across the world, it's not just an occasion to celebrate, but also a time that reminds them of peace and harmony of King Mahabali's time.
Years have gone by. The way we celebrate Onam today is different from the way our ancestors used to do. Today it's more about making reels, like how you see behind me, but the excitement and the feeling of Onam still remains intact. Everkum Hridayam Niranya Onashamsagal. With video journalist Tinku Rajshekhar, Shubhimol KG for India Today from Tirunelveli.
I choose a world where we dream, and the limit is the sky. And this world is my home where I'm living my best.
Mindfully crafted home decor fabrics. Sansar, a D-Decor brand. Live consciously.
Business confidence is at a low. Domestic demand has been tepid and has been tepid for a long period of time. It's not just the COVID effect, it's none of that. Something is missing. And what is that missing factor? Is that missing factor going to be changed by rationalizing GST rates? Of course not. It's got to go beyond that. And therefore I feel that, this tendency to see the glass always as half full. Narrative, bana lo, everything, sab kuch changa hai.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
By Veka, India's largest selling UPVC window. LIC हर पल आपके साथ.
Looks like we've lost India to deepest, darkest China. US President Donald Trump has put out a picture of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the Chinese President Xi Jinping, and the Russian President Vladimir Putin together at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Leaders Summit in Tianjin, China. Now, what should one make of Trump's post on Truth Social where he says, may they have a long and prosperous future together? We decode that on the show.
Tianjin Troika shakes Trump. US President laments lost India and Russia. Trump's nightmare, Russia-India-China axis. Trump sees loss, India sees leverage. Strategic autonomy, Bharat style.
दोनों देशों के बीच में एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव ग्लोबल स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप है और हम चाहते हैं कि इस पार्टनरशिप को जो मुद्दे तैयार किए गए हमारे बीच में एक सब्सटेंटिव एजेंडा जिसको बनाया गया है उस पर काम करके हम इसको आगे ले जाएं।
Modi's message, Bharat first, not blocks. Modi's message, Bharat first, not blocks. That is our top focus on Super 6.
Trump Truth Social post on losing India and Russia to deepest and darkest China. India, of course, has maintained all along that negotiations with the United States of America are still in process. In fact, you heard Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal on India Today, where he indicated a bilateral trade agreement may be in place by October. But how should one read between the lines when Donald Trump says, remember earlier he'd said India is a dead economy, to his key aide Peter Navarro, called Ukraine's war as Modi's war, and then went on to say that Brahmins in India are profiteering. to this current message post the Tianjin summit? Is this another deal-making tactic by Donald Trump, who claims he knows more about tariffs and deals than anyone else? We get you more on that big story and all perspectives on this. I'm Gaurav Sawant. As always, let's get started with the headlines on India Today. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's big exclusive on India Today says GST reforms are not due to tariffs, slams Congress for calling GST Gabbar Singh tax, asks the opposition to do their homework first. Modi, Xi, Putin bonhomie at SCO summit in China rattles Trump, says lost India and Russia to deepest, darkest China, sarcastically wishes all three countries a prosperous future. India-US trade deal still achievable. Union Commerce Minister gives a big update, says government remains optimistic on a deal with the US. Situation remains grim in Delhi. Yamuna water continues to recede but still flowing above the danger mark. Several areas near the Yamuna river remain inundated. Judicial panel gives a clean chit to Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah and his family in the Muda scam. The panel says the allegations have not been proven due to lack of evidence. Congress versus BJP war of words on GST on BDs, says BJP slams Congress over